This is part 2 of the Galapagos Cruise. As you may recall from part 1, Richard and I originally went on a cruise in 2007. Then 2014 I went on one with Kelly, and this is more about that trip that started from Phoenix to Quito, and then from Quito to the Galapagos Islands, which are located about 600 miles west of Ecuador. Day 1, we flew into San Cristobal and got settled on the ship, and then visited the interpretive center, seeing some of the history of the islands. On day 2, we went to Espanola, Gardner Bay, and Suarez Point to see the colorful iguanas and the many nesting birds. Day 3 was to the island of Florina, where we went to the post office and also to Comrade Point and Devil's Crown. Day 4 was to Santa Cruz, where we went to the highlands, and that's where part 1 ended. So part 2 picks up on Santa Cruz, and then we head to other islands: Daphne, Santiago, Bartolome, North Seymour, and back to Santa Cruz, where we will depart. Part 2 of the video starts as we land on day 4 at Santa Cruz. Most of the benches on the pier are taken by sea lions, and those that aren't have a number of smiling faces, and it's a short walk as you pass the souvenir shops down to the Charles Darwin station. There's a gift shop, a visitor center, and then of course a boardwalk that takes you around to see the tortoises and iguanas. These tortoises were from various islands, but what I wanted to see were the saddleback varieties. The saddlebacks have a flatter shell, but the front of the shell is shaped kind of like a saddle, unlike this, which is one of the tortoises on Santa Cruz. Perhaps the most famous saddleback was Lonesome George, a Pinta Island tortoise and the last of his species. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2012. The picture I had was taken in 2007. But these are perhaps the other most famous, the Hood Island tortoises, and specifically Diego, who was responsible for perhaps the most successful captive breeding program ever, repopulating a species, and now the 15 original adults have been released back onto Espanola. The other exciting thing to see at the Charles Darwin station are the many hatchlings. The tortoises in blue are from Espanola, those with yellow from Santiago, and the pink from Pinzon. When you get tired of looking at hatchling tortoises climbing up lava, you can always check out the Galapagos land iguanas. There are actually 3 species, but only one of which is on display. After looking at the iguanas, you may see a lava lizard as you make one last round to check out the hatchlings, but more importantly, the Hood Island tortoises that you'll likely never have an opportunity to see again. And then it's day 5, back to the highlands. We had some new passengers boarding and other passengers unboarding, but we had an opportunity to go back to the highlands. There are several ranches, and this was a different ranch than we'd been to the day before. And I always get excited about seeing the tortoises, and I always rush over to the ponds where you can see the tortoises just basking and sleeping in the mud and the water. The tortoises are territorial. This one tries to bite the other one, and then it tries to bite him or her, or whatever the case may be. But just spectacular watching the tortoises Early explorers would observe the tortoises, including what they eat. They saw them eat the fruit of the manzanillo tree and thought it safe to eat. Unfortunately, those that tried died. I warned people in part 1 of this 2-part video that I took 1 million tortoise pictures. Fortunately, you don't have to see all 1 million of them, but you're probably seeing more than you want to see. Most of the people on the tour were done looking at tortoises in about 45 minutes, but I wanted to see every little puddle, every little watering hole. Look at the tortoise. There's a male. Take a picture. That's a big one. Look at the vegetation. Let's get a close-up of its head. Everything just spectacular being in the highlands. So different than the lowlands and all the lava rock. But I knew I needed to get back, as everyone else was probably ready to leave. So I went back, met them for sandwiches, climbed in a tortoise shell, then we loaded the bus and headed down the road. Unfortunately, it was blocked by some tortoises. But eventually we made it back to the boat, and as they unloaded some people for the plane, there's Kelly snorkeling. I snorkeled and then took some pictures of the blue-footed boobies, marine iguanas, frigate birds. Just had a great time. But eventually, day 5 came to a close. And so that means day 6. Santiago had beautiful black sand beaches, just spectacular, and quite a contrast to the white sand beaches we'd seen previously. People played in the surf, we explored. This iguana, big male with all of his females. Then we went and snorkeled, checked on the Selly Lightfoot crabs, took more iguana pictures. I thought this was a spectacular photo. The sea lion agreed. I thought this was pretty good too, but this sea lion didn't seem to care. Didn't stop me. I still took more marine iguana pictures, and even took a picture of a grasshopper. Kind of cool. The finch, the Selly Lightfoot crabs, and other birds, but just a spectacular black sand beach. My trouble is I like iguanas, so I put too many iguana pictures in. Every once in a while I'll throw in a sea lion or a bird or something, but then it's back to marine iguanas. Just spectacular to see them. There's the pelican photo as you prepare to see more marine iguana photos. This one's in the water, had to include that. Eventually, we head back to the boat to head to our next destination. But first, lunch. I always have a great buffet. Then it's back to the room for whatever it is that we need. Or perhaps out on the deck for a little nap. Maybe the lawn chairs. Maybe the hot tub. Or even a dip in the pool. But now we're on our way to Pinnacle Rock. Before we hiked the 372 stairs to get that view, we did some snorkeling at the base of Pinnacle Rock. Then it was to the island for the trek up to the top. It's almost like you're on the moon. The lava rocks, just an interesting view, but just spectacular from the top. The view reminded me of that Russell Crowe movie when the scientists hiked up and looked over and saw the pirates on the other side. Kelly stopped to help take a photo of these people. I always wondered, did that photo work out? But then it was time to hike down. As you hike down, you could look out and see the craters around the base where we started the hike. You can see our little dinghies that we take back to the boat. The boat's even dwarfed by Pinnacle Rock. Then you have a big surprise. What is it? The Galapagos penguin, the northernmost species of any penguin. Due to the cool currents that come from down south, they're able to survive here at the Galapagos Islands. The boat was a little rocky, so the video is a little rocky. But just amazing to see penguins. Around every corner, there's a new surprise. Following this, it was time to head back to the boat. Relax a little. Watch the birds dive bomb for their food. And have the fricate birds lead us to our next destination. But first we enjoyed dinner out on deck. If you wonder how stable the boat is, here's a picture of one of the portholes. As you watch the ocean come and go, as the boat rocks up and down, you get used to it in a day or so. But then it was off to our evening briefing, where they tell you what you'll be doing the following day. This would be our last full day on the islands, and we would be going to Santa Cruz and Dragon Hill. But on the way, we saw this little pool and had to take some more marine iguana pictures. But then, what's that? You guessed it, flamingos. Who would imagine that we were seeing penguins yesterday and now flamingos today, in just a short distance of each other? But took some great pictures of the flamingos as we traveled toward Dragon Hill, where we would see our first wild Galapagos land iguanas. The land iguanas are much larger than the marine iguanas and very impressive to see. They dig burrows in the ground. They come out and bask. The males have the red heads, yellow, bright yellow heads, and they eat the cactus fruit and other vegetation. It was still a little cool out in the morning, so we didn't see too many land iguanas out and about, but the ones we saw were spectacular. But we would go back in for lunch and then come back out and head to North Seymour Island. Well, most people go there to look for the birds, such as this fricate bird in full mating display. We would see many Galapagos land iguanas there as well. It was a warm afternoon, but under each of these bushes there'd be a land iguana. He was out, but didn't want to be in the direct sun. But just impressive to watch the fricate birds, see the land iguanas, and just amazing. This ice plant is found around much of the coast, and it was interesting to observe the land iguanas would actually go over and eat it, as I do believe marine iguanas would on occasion as well. But lots of birds, and you are walking just directly next to them. Then you look down and there's a land iguana. Of course, you can't forget the lava lizards. We also saw a number of them. But the big attraction for most people were all the birds nesting, and this will show you how close you are to them. I took this video and left the sound on so you could see that that doesn't even bother them.
The lad.
He's a loser, yeah, he's a loser.
He just posed there.
Okay, loser,
He's
yeah,
fake.
Poor George.
Pointed there.
Yeah.
You won't see any more.
Listen, Pepe.
You couldn't mistake Kelly's voice and Kelly's laugh, but at least he's having a good time. Hopefully you are too watching this video. But it's back on the boat, and today actually is my birthday. So the cooks got together, made me a cake, and everyone on the boat helped me celebrate. What a special occasion to have your birthday in the Galapagos Islands. I could tell you stories about most of these people, and that's actually one of the things that makes a cruise a lot of fun. After we celebrated my birthday, the crew got together since it was the last night and put on a little skit.
In the name of King Neptune, I convert you to an albatross.
Woo!
Now you must drink the essence of our waters. Iguana pee or turtle blood?
Turtle pee, bud.
You can drink both.
All right, I'll try both.
Yay! You're going to drink both.
That's pretty good.
You want to pee?
Try this one. Good stuff. Yeah.
As far as pee goes.
Now you may leave as you have become, what did I convert? Cormorant. Albatross.
Albatross.
The next morning, we said goodbye to our guide, had the last omelet for the trip, gave a copy of my iguana book to the people that we ate breakfast with, had our last dinghy ride as we had one more short excursion on the north side of Santa Cruz. Tracks of an iguana, tracks of a sea turtle. Shell from a sea turtle that had hatched. We saw a number of sea turtles, and even one digging a nest. Just as the flamingos flew away, it was now time for us to fly away, say goodbye to the island. Back on ship, we could see them load our luggage. And then it was to the airport on Balta. And all we had now were memories of our trip. The golden rays, the various birds and tortoises and iguanas, and the various people we'd met. But a great trip until next time. And if this sparked an interest to see the Galapagos, tune in for my next video where I show how to go to the Galapagos on your own. Save a lot of money, but still see it all.